Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, welcome back. It is the Jaggernaut Podcast. I'm your host, Michael DeZoba. As always, the second person of the tandem, other part of the tandem, not sure exactly how you would word that, of the Brothers Grimm, my brother, the one and only.
Hello,
Franklin
Jag
DeZoba.
fans and conversationalists.
So, Duval, let's get that out of there. Kind of cut off the ball, but I wanted to just get that in
Is
there.
that your vote? Was that your mic or was that your mouth?
Oh, that was my mouth. I just went ahead and ended the Duval. I didn't roll it, you know.
Sounded like there was a gap.
Oh, really? Well, maybe it was the mic. So just to give you a little heads up tonight, what we're going to talk about is we're going to go over the defense and we're going to say who we believe our starters are. And the reason for this is, we hear and see a lot of stuff that is coming out of not training camp, but the OTAs. And to be honest with you, everybody looks good in underwear. Like literally, if you're an NFL guy, you look good in underwear. So what do you make from this? You know what? Here's what I say. I say, just be a little bit happy that nobody's getting hurt. That's it. Don't put too much stock in this. Don't put too much trust in what they're saying. The talking heads are going to talk them up. They're going to say, oh my God, look at this pass. The guy dropped a dime. Well, he should drop a dime because the receiver isn't being covered. There's no rush. There's nothing. It's literally men in underwear. That's what it is. So that's why we're going to start to try to get to the brass tacks, if you will. And tonight we're going to go over the defense and we're going to let you know who we believe the starters will be. Frank, do you want to add anything?
Well, just on the OTA, I echo that sentiment, but I think it just comes down to people wanting to get into football as soon as possible. You know, you get this concept of the continuous season and they're always moving you from one thing to another. And you got full-time 24-hour ESPN type coverage and they got to come up with something. I guess in the old days, I don't even know if they had OTAs. And if they did, it was just them getting together, looking in classroom type settings. And so the idea that you come out there looking for things to tell the public, just not that time of year, you're not, like you said, you're not going to see it. And it's just odd that we expect it, or that we would expect
it.
I
mean, in underwear, we should expect it.
Not
expect a ballerina to look good in her underwear and her tutu when she's doing her performance. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying, when you start adding in pounds, when you actually start hitting, that's when football becomes football. Right now, it's not football. It's a glorified practice or what is those?
I think it's important. It's a building block, but yeah,
I agree. Right now. Reps. Don't get me wrong. The more reps, the better.
Implementing the scheme.
Yeah.
Getting their heads into understanding. That's all it is. But like you said, you're not going to know football players at this point, or if somebody excludes themselves from being one, you're not going to realize that. I don't think at this point. I guess if you had a draft pick that was a complete and total bust, you'd probably know that now. But other than that, the question is if they did, would they tell you?
Well, I don't know if you would. Take last year, Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase couldn't catch a cold.
That's a good,
in preseason. And then all of a sudden the lights came on and it meant something. And I'm not sure he dropped a pass. So just throwing that out there. So, OTAs,
fantasy rosters.
Yeah, OTAs don't mean jack. So if you're listening to us, don't put a lot of stock in it. Don't listen to what the talking heads are saying. I mean, if you want to for entertainment, But just understand it's entertainment. Just understand that it may not mean anything when the actual lights go on and they start getting punched in the mouth. All right. So Frank, I'm going to start us off. I'm going to do the secondary.
Let me
Yeah, pull up your little chart.
see. This is my makeshift version of 3-4 defense for to get a visual representation of.
Okay. See, and that's not so bad. That's not so bad. That's not so wrong, I guess. So here's what I would say. I'm going to start off over here. What I'm looking at, it would be the left side. So you have Darius Williams here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I would have flipped. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, let me see where I got Darius Williams. Yep. So I would move Darius Williams out. He would not be there. Shaquille Griffin would be there.
I toyed with that concept. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, my starter here is Shaquille Griffin. On the other side, you are correct. I got Tyson Campbell. Behind Tyson Campbell, I do not have Trey Herndon. I got Chris Claybrooks. Behind Shaquille Griffin, I don't have anybody. I'm not sure who there. I put an open spot. But the backup corner on that side, to me, is open and available for whoever wants to take it. That's the way I see things. Now, this is where we differ a little bit. I know you went basically just your normal 3-4. Right. I, however, added an extra spot in mine. I actually have 12 areas. Yeah. Well,
12 men on the field.
Yeah. Well, for the nickel corner, to me, the nickel corner deserves its own little area of recognition. And in that nickel corner, I actually have Trey Herndon and I have Darius Williams. I have Trey Herndon.
You have Trey Herndon starting over Darius Williams?
I have Trey Herndon starting over Darius Williams. However, with the caveat, this is a camp fight. This is one of the areas where I believe the actual starter isn't known, named, and this is a true battle.
Now you think Shaquille Griffin and Tyson Campbell have the outside locked?
I do.
Darius is fighting for the slot, huh?
Yep.
Because see, Darius was they spent a lot of money on him.
That's correct.
Came from a Super Bowl winning team. He statistically played really well, and he played on the outside. So that was the reason why I had such difficulty. Now I do look at the guy, and I think he's something like 5'9". He looks like a slot to me. So to your point, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the slot, but it became very difficult for me. And plus, I was dealing with this graphic and I didn't, it's just the base 3-4. Obviously they play nickel. What is it? 40%, 50% of the time? I don't even know.
I think
most
nickel's
teams.
I think nickel,
even more.
Yeah, I think it's even more than that.
Yeah, it might be. So if that's the case, then, in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. Regardless, your top three corners, and you can kind of figure out where they go, one way or the other. And I would say are Griffin, Campbell, and Williams. Yeah. And now, in my mind, I think Trey Herndon is the fourth backup slot is the way I'm looking at it. Just because, Tyson Campbell showed a lot of promise last year. And you paid a lot of money for Williams and Griffin, and Trey Herndon is, I just think contract speaks volumes too. So he's going to be the fourth, unless he clearly outplays somebody.
No, and I agree. That's why I pegged this one. As a legitimate camp battle. Because Trey Herndon's earned the right to have that battle. He's played well.
I like Trey Herndon. He's
played well. So
I've thought he's always played well since he's been here.
And the loser goes with Chris Claybrooks. Yeah, Claybrooks with Chris Claybrooks, and they're 1A and 2A for that backup cornerback slot.
And you got I got Xavier Crawford there, and I should have refreshed myself. It's been a week since I've done this, and Crawford kind of jumped out at me. I forget his story though. I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't know, and that'd be something maybe we can talk about later.
How
many
not going
corners you keep on a roster.
Yep. which is why I just went literally. I went who I thought would start and who I thought might be their immediate backup. I did not go. I see that you went much deeper, especially on linebackers, even in the secondaries. All right, so I'm leaving cornerbacks and I'm going to go to the safety position. It's funny, your safety position is exactly like mine, but I have some stuff flipped.
Do you
Yeah.
even have Wingard in the lineup somewhere, even on the roster?
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys listen to the podcast, you know that I like Wingert's heart. I just don't think, and I honestly like him as a special teamer. I just don't think he has those. I don't know I don't want to say brain power because that means I'm not calling him dumb because I don't think he is. Maybe he's just not as athletic as you need to be.
Racist.
He seems a step slow. And remember, I'm going back and I'm going to tell you, he met Derrick Henry in the hole and jumped out of the way. I understand why he did it because
I
I
gotta
might
go
have
back
did
and
it
see
too.
that. I don't remember that.
But that
I'm not
bothered
that
me.
what you said.
But that bothered me. So at that point,
You
I
jump
lost.
out of the way of Derrick Henry too.
I lost. I might, or I might just dive at his ankles. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
if he runs over me and steps on me, okay, well, he stepped on me. It's not that big.
Probably better than getting stiff armed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, or shoved to the ground, whatever could have happened. Look, I sort of understand it, but dude, you can't do that. You're getting paid.
All right, I think I interrupted you. Where you got Rashawn,
I got Rashawn, and then behind him I have Daniel Thomas.
Okay.
Then I have Andre Cisco, and behind Andre Cisco I have Rudy Ford. So those are my four.
So you just have them. Oh, because you're playing nickel. Did you sub out? Are you doing two safeties on the way you've got it laid out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got Rashawn on one side and I got Andre Cisco on the other side. Those are my two starting safeties.
Okay.
Behind them, I have Daniel Thomas and Rudy Ford. Now, there is a battle. There's a battle at Rudy Ford, Daniel Thomas, Andrew Wingard, and everybody else. This is another camp battle to keep an eye on. Yeah. Because literally those two backup safety spots, nothing's written. Nothing's written at all. Nobody's name technically deserves to be there. Rudy Ford played well. Daniel Thomas, they like for some reason, hasn't really ever done anything, but they like him. So I think that's like a 4 or 5 guy battle. That's an excellent battle to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And I don't know if you see, I got Monteric Brown thrown in there.
Which is possible. Which is possible. I mean, you can throw in, if you play safety, throw him in there and give him a shot and see what he does.
Yeah, when we discussed the draft picks, that was the thought process. I thought that, I don't know if I thought that necessarily per se. I did see a physical corner when I looked at the tape, and there was already information suggesting they were thinking about him in this role. Yeah. So as a backup safety, kind of a special teams guy, kind of try to see what they've got, work his way in the lineup.
Yeah. And I'm like I said, I think this is probably one of the biggest camp battles among 4 or 5 guys that we're going to have on this team. So, and that's all. And to me, that's awesome. You have guys who are legitimately fighting for legitimate shots, not Urban Meyer camp battles, but legitimate shots to start. I think that's a good deal. All right, Frank, that wraps up the secondary.
So I think it probably behooves us to go to the defensive line at this point, running a 3-4. I don't know. Maybe you just deal with it all. I'm not sure where to start. It gets so confusing sometimes. So I've got this laid out as a typical 3-4. And it will be interesting to see where they start. I didn't exactly know what to do with Fadukasi. I do know they're going to start that guy because the Jets loved him. They spent a lot of money to get him here. And I don't know, and shame on me, I haven't done research in regards to his time with the Jets, so I don't know where they had him listed. I do know body type wise, he looks like, He reminds me of a, so when I go through looking at our roster, I'm trying to figure out who's the guy that's going to be the fire plug type guy, and throw them at the nose tackle position. And so him and Devon Hamilton are very similar in size. And so my thought process on that is put him in the middle. And then I liked Malcolm Brown last year, and I kind of like Roy Robertson Harris. I think he just looks like a 3-4 defensive end to me. So those two guys on either side of him are basically the way that I'm looking at the defensive line at this point. I could see Malcolm Brown coming in and being a nose as well, and Foley being a defensive end. I think the one thing we're going to see with this defense, and the one thing that makes it very difficult to,
I don't see. So I disagree with you there. I think Foley and Hamilton are strictly they're strictly tackles. You will never see them play defensive end. They will always be a tackle, whether they play in a hybrid 3-4 or whether they play over the nose. They're two specific tackles. They will never play end at all.
Yeah, and I guess that's the difference between 3-4 versus 4-3. So when you jump into what you're calling a hybrid, you're sliding probably Trayvon.
It depends on the down. If it's an early down, it'll be, I'm thinking Foley and Devon Hamilton to stop the run, along with my bigger ends. Maybe Dwayne Smoot, Roy Robinson Harris. So those are two bigger ends. You got Adam Goss, you got Dwayne Smoot or Gossis. You got Jay Tuafele, who could play big end. You have Arden Key, who can play big end, who can play end. To me, if you want to stop the run, you put your big boys out there. So to me, Foley and Devon Hamilton are your run stopping defensive tackles. They never play in. Malcolm Brown can play big in because we've seen it, so we know he can do that. Malcolm Brown, just one of those type tweener guys. Yes, he can play nose, maybe in a late down. If it's a passing situation, you bring in Malcolm Brown. But to me, those are your two tackles. They're not playing anything else. Everybody else, however, can play big end, little end, and maybe some defensive tackle.
So you threw Arden Key in there, and Arden Key to me seems like an outside linebacker guy. I don't see him going in the middle very much at all.
No, but I do see him playing some
in hybrid.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's possible. I mean, and that's the thing that's going to be interesting, I suppose, because the one thing that you're going to see with this defense is going to be flexibility. When you look on this roster, especially in the defensive line here, and when you include the linebackers, which you have to in a 3-4, you're talking about guys that just, I hesitate to say tweeners. I don't think that's quite right, although I think that does fit Caleb on. I would consider him a tweener. Everybody else seems to be
between
somebody
bad and terrible.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that so far hasn't fit. He doesn't seem to be fast enough to set either. There's something about the guy. He doesn't seem to be stout enough at the point to put on the line. But when you put him just at the general linebacker, when you see him out in space, I don't see him really making plays there either. So I don't quite know where that guy would fit in. He almost kind of makes me think of a 4-3 pass rush third down specialist. I haven't seen that either. Passer, I'm just thinking body type, and it's, I'm not closing the book on Caleb on. It's just they've got a lot of guys out there now. Maybe in the rotation we see him pop off and do some things now. I mean, I know last year was a difficult. I'm not necessarily judging anybody on last year. I think, I'm certainly not closing the book on anybody. So, but yeah, Caleb.
Yeah. Now, for me personally, this is another camp battle to watch, right? So Josh Allen, Arden Key, Trevon Walker, Jordan Smith, those I think are your ends. or linebackers, outside linebackers, however you wanna. So there's 4. It's that 5th spot. I think you may keep 5. So I think this may be the year that either if we can deal Caleb on for something, sweet, do it. Get him the hell out of here because he ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, you
If
might be
not,
right about that.
if not, he may actually get cut.
I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
So you would love to I would love to trade him even at this point for a 5th or 6th round and just call it, I haven't seen anything from him. He's never made plays as far as I'm concerned. So, and who does he beat? Like looking at it, who does he beat?
Nobody. Arden Key came in and took his spot. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, who does he beat? He doesn't beat anybody, and I would rather give up.
Jordan Smith. So if you look at the outside linebacker spots, and you let me know if you see something different here. But I mean, I'm obviously Trayvon and Josh Allen are our go-to
starters,
outside
right?
guys.
Mhm.
Arden Key's going to come in and spell either one of those guys. He's the next man up. Jordan Smith is the kind of jar on the shelf they drafted last year, thinking maybe he could do something, maybe turn into something. So that's the guy that, to me, Caleb on and him are the ones that if there's a spot, and it isn't, and there's other guys. I mean, it's Deshaun Dixon guy. I think that guy might be, and I know you guys, kind of get on to me for thinking Jeff Lageman, valuing Jeff Lageman's opinion, but I'm thinking that's the guy he thinks looks very similar to Trayvon Walker. And he's an undrafted guy, so he looks like a jar on the shelf too. So it just depends. So to your point, Caleb on, I mean, he's got 2 jars on the shelf guys that if they show athletic prowess and Caleb on still sort of, struggling, there you go.
Right. But okay, but here, so just to get back with a perfect segue into it, this is why I'm not all in on Jeff Lagerman. He specifically was talking, 1 drive time ago about Caleb on Chase on. Said he needs to get in there and get to work. He needs to work on us. No, dude, no. He's had 2 years to work. He's not good for us for whatever reason. Maybe he was drafted too high. Maybe too much was expected of him. He has not been good. We can't do a Blake Bortles and wait 4 or 5 years hoping to get something out of these guys. If they don't show up, move them. Move them. Get rid of them. Call it done. Yep, it's okay to miss on a few guys. You're going to miss on a few guys.
In fairness, Lageman's saying what we're saying. He's saying,
but he's doing it nicer.
Something.
And there are fans who don't read between the lines. There are fans that don't understand coach speak. So
but everybody knows what's up with
nobody's
seen anything.
Not everybody knows. But anyway, that's completely off the subject. But yep, I completely agree. I don't see anything in here. I think that 5th guy, either outside linebacker, defensive back, and you are defensive tackle, and you may not even keep one of these guys if it comes down to maybe Chad Muma or keeping another inside linebacker. It may only be 4.
Yeah, because one of the things that has been talked about, and I could see this happening too, is because you've got Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma, and I mean, here's 2, 2 great picks, and I've got Muma as a backup here.
Yep.
But there's just no place for him. I can't find a spot for him. I can't see him on the line.
Well, here's something.
Strikes me as a middle linebacker.
Let me ask you. I'm in a 3-4, right?
Yeah.
And I need somebody to come in there and just say blitz. We're gonna say blitz, right?
I know where you're going.
What if we swap Devin Lloyd out of the middle and put him on the outside and put Chad Muma in? To me, that's money versus Caleb on Chase on.
That's it. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was heading toward. And that also makes it a lot more likely that somebody like, to your point, when it comes to roster battles, if you've got guys for that outside linebacker position, well, Devin Lloyd could fill two things. He could be your middle linebacker. He could be your outside linebacker, because I could see Muma being, I'm sure he'd be fine on the outside too, but I could definitely see Lloyd going to the outside and being that smaller pass rushing outside linebacker in that 3-4 defense, and bringing Muma in and not really losing a step at all.
Yep. Yep. So
yeah.
that I think not only did Arden Key hurt, but also getting Devin Lloyd, I think, hurt and basically sealed his doom.
So yeah, that's something to watch. So if there's something to come out of this, it's what Caleb Vaughn's future on this team is something to watch when it comes to training camp.
And now for me, I'm not going to be Jeff Lagerman. I'm going to tell you, for me, my personal opinion is Caleb Vaughn does not have a future on this team. There it is.
Heard it here.
You heard it here first, guys. All right, so now we're going to move on right to the linebackers. Okay, and it's funny because we have them very similar. Our starters are exactly the same. Our backups are switched.
Okay, so you got
So
Muma
for me,
behind Foye.
Yeah, I got Chad Muma behind.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Behind Foye. And the reason why is because Foye is more of like a tackling machine. He's a more of a I think he's more of the same with Chad Muma. Chad Muma is a guy, and actually Quarterman, Shaquille Quarterman. All three of those guys are almost exactly the same. Two of them might actually be better than Quarterman, so that's why I put Quarterman as a backup. I think he's deserved the chance to keep fighting for a roster spot. But at this point, man, I'm not sure you keep any more linebackers. You might keep maybe Russell. Maybe.
Well, it comes down to special teams. Safeties and linebackers usually are the guys that tend to fill your and sometimes receivers fill your coverage teams and stuff on special teams. So that does, but none of the linebackers really jump out at me. All those the that I have on the side there. I kind of remember Russell's name. But yeah, I mean I don't know how many of those make it. Probably almost none, but maybe two at the most, or maybe one, like you said.
If they do, you're 100% right. It's special teams. I think it's the same thing with Shaquille Quarterman. I think if he wants to be active, I think he can make the roster, but I think if he wants to be active on Sundays, he's got to be a special teams contributor. Same thing with Chad Muma. I think if he wants to be activated on Sundays, he has to be a special teams contributor.
I'm rooting for Quarterman, but as we talk, I'm almost wondering if he doesn't become a camp casualty, because I don't know that he's been on special teams before.
Yeah. He does play special teams. That's been his saving grace. When they had Miles Jack and Schobert, Miles Jack and whoever, and then Miles Jack and then whoever, Quarterman stuck around because he's been playing special teams.
Yeah, he just reminds me of the old school 4-3.
Run downhill thumper.
Yeah, the thumper guy, fill the hole back in the day.
Yeah, which is sort of nice to have. You run up against those teams that love to put like a fullback in there.
Yeah,
I put Shaq Quarterman in, put Foye on the other side, and I tell Shaq Quarterman, look, if this is a run play, you meet that fullback in the hole, and you knock his ass out.
And the book on Quarterman's been the speed, the side to side speed.
Side to side.
He looks for. But in fairness, Miles Jack had that in spades, and they just got rid of him. Sometimes that sort of stuff, sometimes the intangibles can accommodate your tangibles, and sometimes your intangibles can minimize your tangibles. So
right.
I think, sometimes you got those side to side guys and they just are out of place regardless, because they just aren't reading stuff. So maybe Quarterman, and I haven't seen that out of Quarterman. Of course, we don't see a lot of Quarterman, but when I've noticed him, it hasn't been bad. I haven't noticed him out of place. So the thought process is,
I mean, to me,
backup linebacker.
To me, even though I'm a U guy, he's from the U, he's from Jacksonville. I mean, there's so much I want to like about the guy, but that's right. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't made any mistakes, but he hasn't done anything that's like,
he hasn't had a chance either.
Man, this guy's got to start. And that's true. Maybe it's like a running back. He's got to get more reps, and then maybe we'll see something. So yeah, it is funny that our defenses are fairly similar. There's a little bit here or there, but not much, honestly. I think we had the quarterback or the cornerback difference, and then everything else was pretty much backups.
Yeah.
So we had a little bit different take on backups, but other than that, this is our starting defense. Now, how do you feel about rolling into Sundays with it? Now, nobody gets hurt at training camp, right? That's what we want. No injuries.
Okay, so my thought process going into, I feel pretty good about it. I don't, I mean, it all comes down to scheme at this point. That's the biggest thing because I mentioned it earlier. It's all going to be about flexibility at this point. I like our two outside guys. I mean, I know going in, I'm not expecting a lot of sacks from Trayvon. You know, I don't know if you saw that the Vegas odds came out and Trayvon's at 6.5.
No, what's the Detroit guy, since they're going to be married at the
He's
hip?
8.5.
Oh, okay.
And who's the other guy? I don't know why his name's spacing on me.
Thibodeau?
Oregon
Thibodeau.
guy. Thibodeau, yeah. So Thibodeau's at 7.5. So they got both the second pick and what was Thibodeau, the fifth pick?
The fifth pick, yeah.
They've got him, both of them having more sacks than him. Now, I know that sounds like failure. And I know that I've said this, and you know, you can go back and listen. I've said they're going to start minimizing sacks here. They're going to go, oh, it's not that important. They've already started it. And I'm not being negative. It is what it is. I knew that's what they would do, but I'm not even calling them out on it. It's fine. I'm saying it to be academic at this point. My hope is Trayvon comes in and provides whatever stability this defense needs to maximize its flexibility and allow other players like Josh Allen. So in other words, let's say Josh Allen has 12 sacks this year and Trayvon has 5. But when you watch the defense, it's a suffocating defense. And Trayvon is shutting down the run. I mean, he's knocking passes at the line. I mean, he's getting close to the quarterback, but not quite getting there. I'm not going to be upset by that. I'm going to say, okay, they grabbed a piece. They had an idea about what they wanted, and they're using that piece to create this defensive philosophy that they're using to maximize. And Josh Allen is reaping the rewards of the sack number. And that's the way I'm going to look at it. I don't expect the guy to get great sacks this year, but hopefully he'll round out into a better sack guy maybe next year or the year after that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the way that they minimize.
Reasonable.
I hate the way they minimize it because I think you're minimizing the player. I think this player is going to be married at the hip to Hutchinson because they went 1-2. They're in the same position. So.
And they play each other, and Detroit and Jacksonville play each other late in the season. So we're going to have a sack total coming into that game.
All we can hope is that both teams are mostly healthy. I say mostly healthy because, you know, we always have injuries. And the last thing I'd want is to be roll into Detroit with, say they got 2 guys hurt and we steamroll them. And then they start talking about, oh, well, our quarterback wasn't in there, or oh, we didn't have this guy. Yeah. Or maybe it's another scrapper in the crapper, you know, 2 bottom feeders duking it out, you know. So, I mean, anything's possible with this team. I like the defense, unfortunately, and that's what bothers me. Every year they suck me in and I start looking at it and I'm like, ooh, this is an actual NFL team. Maybe. And then they show up.
The season begins.
Yeah, they show up to play, and I'm like, wait, what happened to the guys on paper? Like, the guys on the paper could play. Why aren't these guys playing? So,
yeah.
And it's every year, and it's different coaches. So I'm tired of hearing that Urban shit. Was Urban a bad coach? Yep, he was a bad NFL coach. So I think he was a bad NFL coach. I'm tired of hearing that. But Doug Marrone had flashes. He couldn't get some of these guys to play or show up and look like an NFL team. Yeah.
I will say this. The one thing that does jump out at me about this defense is it looks like an imposing front five. When you throw the defensive line and those two linebackers on the outside, Josh Allen's a big outside linebacker for a 3-4. And Trayvon's enormous. Like that's a ridiculous, that's a,
Honestly, dude, this front seven might be good. Like, it might be good. And it doesn't, and I half of the way want to agree with what they're saying. Success doesn't always necessarily translate from sacks. JJ Watt, when he was still a Texan, was making plays, but didn't have a lot of sacks. But he was batting down balls. He was eating the double teams. He was moving around. Like, he was disruptive.
Yeah.
And if we can get disruption and he doesn't make his sack total, or he gets beat out by a half a sack or a sack, I'm okay with that.
Well, think about it this way. If you just look at the two defensive ends there, and in a 3-4, this is typical for your defensive ends anyway. So this fits. Roy Robertson Harris and Malcolm Brown, assuming that's kind of what happened. Those two guys there are just the solid guys. They're not going to blow you away. Mm-hmm. They're just there. You can rely on them. They're not game breakers, Pro Bowl type caliber, we don't think. But Foley Fatukasi is that type. At least they paid him like he performed last year, like he was. Trayvon Walker, you're projecting to be. He looks like a beast out there. And then Josh Allen, we know he can be at times. So you have three legitimate guys that look like they could be Pro Bowlish on that defensive line. And I think
Frank,
it could be disruptive.
What you're telling me is that you believe that we have three guys out of the five who potentially can beat the man in front of them. Is that what you're saying?
I see it that way. I do see it that way. Yeah. And in a division,
it's hard to argue, man. It's hard to argue
where we need to stop the run. This looks like the type of defense, because those five large guys, and then you've got two athletic, three a backup as well, athletic linebackers to cover gaps and get this, if they do seal the edge, to get around it, that sort of thing. I don't see what centers and guards are going to get to the next level on that defensive line. It might be hard for them to do that. I may be over positive at this point, and we'll see. But I don't see centers jumping up.
Problem. I'm looking at it, man,
on those linebackers.
I feel good.
So those linebackers are going to be able to make plays, I think.
Yep. Dude, preach it, brother. Preach it. Everything you're saying. I'm looking at it and I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Ooh.
Could be.
We can do something. Ooh. And then we start the season and we suck. So dude, man, it's hard. I don't want to get all excited.
Here's the way to look at it.
Excited.
You'd rather feel, and this is of course what Jag fans do, to take it for what it is, but it's just, been burnt, been down this road 1,000 times. But here's what I would rather feel this way than not. So, and I'm not trying to be positive about it. I'm just trying to be not.
Yeah, but the problem is that most of the time we don't get rewarded for feeling this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
We show up, we feel this way. We show up, we spend our money, and then what do we see? We see a team that can't beat Alabama. That's what we see. So anyway, I'm going to leave it right there, brother. Thank you for joining me this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, from Duval, that is our show for you tonight. Hopefully you like it. Drop us a like, drop and subscribe. Let us know what you think about the defense. Take it easy. Good night.
See you guys.